If you've been feeling like something in your life needs to change, this conversation might be exactly what you need right now. Hey, lovely listeners, welcome back to Fluent Career English. I'm Emma, and today we're going to talk about something very real. That quiet moment when you start to realize your life could be different.
And sometimes, that moment doesn't come with a big event. It comes in silence.
Yes, it comes when you're alone with your thoughts.
And suddenly, you start asking yourself questions you've been avoiding.
Questions like, am I actually moving forward?
Or am I just repeating the same life every day?
Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like your days are full, but your progress is empty?
That's a powerful way to describe it.
You're busy, but you're not growing.
You're working, but not evolving.
And over time, that creates a strange kind of frustration.
Not loud frustration.
But quiet dissatisfaction.
The kind that slowly builds inside you.
And one day, it becomes impossible to ignore.
That's when awareness begins.
And awareness is the first step toward change.
Emma, do you remember your first real turning point?
Yes, very clearly. It actually happened during a normal weekday.
What made it different?
Nothing special on the outside. But internally, everything shifted.
What were you feeling?
I was sitting at my desk, looking at my screen. I had tasks to complete, emails to answer.
So everything looked normal.
Exactly. But I suddenly realized something. I was not excited about anything I was doing.
That's a strong realization.
Yes, and it scared me a little.
Why did it scare you?
Because I thought, what if this is my life for the next 5 years?
That question changes everything.
It really does.
What did you do after that moment?
At first, nothing. I went home and tried to ignore it.
That's very human.
Yes, but the thought stayed with me. The next day, and the day after.
It didn't go away.
No, and that's when I understood something important. When a thought keeps coming back, it's trying to tell you something.
That's powerful.
So I decided to listen.
And what did you change first?
I didn't change my whole life. I changed one small thing.
What was that?
I started saying yes to opportunities that made me uncomfortable.
That's a big mindset shift.
Yes, even small things like sharing an idea in a meeting.
That can feel difficult at first.
It did. My voice wasn't steady. I felt nervous.
But you still did it.
Yes, and that's what mattered.
That's where confidence begins.
Exactly. Let's talk about another real situation.
Go ahead.
I had a friend from college, his name was Daniel. He was very intelligent, always at the top of the class.
Sounds like someone with a bright future.
That's what everyone thought. But after graduation, something changed.
What happened?
He got a stable job, but he stopped challenging himself.
So he became comfortable.
Yes, too comfortable. He stopped learning new things. He stopped taking risks.
And how did that affect him?
After 2 years, he felt stuck.
Even though he had a good job.
Yes. Because growth had stopped.
That's an important lesson.
One day, we had a long conversation.
What did he say?
He said, "I feel like I'm the same person I was 2 years ago."
That's a heavy realization.
It is. And it made him uncomfortable.
Did he change after that?
Slowly, yes. He started learning again. He started taking on new challenges.
Small steps.
Very small at first.
But consistent.
Exactly.
And that made the difference.
Yes, over time, he became more confident and engaged.
That shows how powerful consistency is.
Let me ask you something, Alex. Have you ever had a moment in college or early career that changed how you see yourself?
Yes, I remember one presentation during my college days.
What happened?
I had prepared very well. I knew my topic.
So you felt ready?
That's what I thought. But when I stood in front of the class, I froze.
That must have been stressful.
It was. My mind went blank.
And what did you do?
I rushed through the presentation and sat down quickly.
How did you feel afterward?
Disappointed. Not because I failed, but because I didn't try fully.
That's an important difference.
Yes, and that moment stayed with me.
What did it teach you?
That preparation is not enough. You also need courage.
That's a powerful lesson.
After that, I made a decision.
What decision?
I would put myself in uncomfortable situations more often.
That's not easy.
No, but it changed everything.
How?
Because each time I faced discomfort, I became a little stronger.
That's how growth happens.
Exactly.
I want to bring this back to our listeners. Many of you might be waiting for confidence before taking action.
But confidence is not something you wait for.
It's something you build.
Through action.
Through experience.
Through small risks.
Let's talk about one more real-life example.
Yes, I think this will help many people.
I once met someone during a workshop. She was very quiet.
Was she shy?
Yes, but also unsure of herself.
What happened during the workshop?
The trainer asked everyone to share their thoughts.
And she stayed quiet.
At first, yes. But then she slowly raised her hand.
That must have taken courage.
It did. Her voice was not very strong, but she spoke.
And how did people react?
They listened. No one judged her.
That's important.
After the session, she told me something.
What did she say?
She said, I thought people would judge me, but they didn't.
That's a powerful realization.
Yes, and it changed how she saw herself.
Sometimes the fear is bigger than reality.
Most of the time.
Emma, what do you think all these stories have in common?
They all start with awareness.
And then a small decision.
And then consistent action.
That's the formula.
Simple, but not always easy.
True.
Let me ask you something. What is one thing someone listening right now can do today?
Notice one area where they are holding themselves back.
That's powerful.
And then take one small step in that direction.
Not a big step.
Just one.
Because one step leads to another.
And another.
And before you realize it, you are moving forward.
That's how change happens.
Not in one big moment.
But in many small moments.
I want our listeners to imagine something.
Go ahead.
Imagine your life 1 year from now. You didn't make any changes.
That's not a good feeling.
Now imagine something different. You started small. You stayed consistent.
That version of you feels different.
More confident.
More capable.
More in control.
And that version is possible.
But only if you begin.
Not tomorrow.
Today.
Right now.
If you are listening, this might be your turning point.
Not a dramatic moment.
But a meaningful one.
A moment where you decide to move forward.
A moment where you stop holding yourself back.
And start becoming the person you want to be.
So take that first step.
Trust yourself.
Stay consistent.
And remember.
This might be the moment your life begins to change for good. You know, something interesting happens when people finally decide to change. At first, it doesn't look like anything big.
Yes, from the outside, it often looks the same.
But internally, everything starts shifting.
The way you think changes first.
Then your actions slowly follow.
And over time, your identity begins to change.
That's such an important point. Change is not just about what you do.
It's about who you become.
Exactly. Let me share another story. This one is about someone I met early in my career.
I'm listening.
His name was Mark. He was very hardworking, always busy, always completing tasks.
Sounds productive.
That's what everyone thought. But one day, we had a conversation that surprised me.
What did he say?
He said, I feel like I'm working all the time, but I'm not getting anywhere.
That's a powerful realization.
Yes, and it made me think. Because many people confuse activity with progress.
That's true. Being busy doesn't always mean you're moving forward.
Exactly. Mark was doing a lot, but he wasn't improving the right things.
So what changed for him?
He started asking himself a different question.
Which was,
What skill can I improve that will actually move me forward?
that's a much better question.
Yes, because it creates direction.
And direction creates focus.
And focus creates results.
So what did he focus on?
Communication. Not just speaking, but expressing ideas clearly and confidently.
That's a high-impact skill.
Exactly. Within a few months, people started noticing him more.
Because he became visible.
Yes, and that changed everything for him.
That's a great example of intentional growth.
Let's connect this to our listeners. Many people feel stuck not because they lack ability,
But because they lack direction.
Exactly. Let me ask you something, Alex. What do you think is the biggest mistake people make when they try to improve their life?
I think they try to change everything at once.
That's very true.
And when that feels overwhelming, they stop completely.
Yes, and then they think they failed.
When actually, they just needed a simpler approach.
Exactly. I remember a time when I tried to improve multiple areas of my life at once.
What happened?
I started strong. I made a long plan.
That sounds familiar.
Yes, but after a few days, I felt exhausted.
Because it was too much at once.
Exactly. And I stopped everything.
That's a common pattern.
But then I realized something important.
What was it?
I don't need to change everything. I just need to focus on one thing at a time.
That's a big shift.
Yes, and it made progress feel possible again.
That's the key.
Progress should feel manageable.
Not overwhelming.
Let's talk about something deeper. Identity.
That's interesting.
Many people say they want to change their life.
But they still see themselves the same way.
Exactly. They say, I'm not confident, or I'm not good at this.
And those beliefs limit their actions.
Yes, because your identity shapes your behavior.
So if you want to change your life,
You need to slowly change how you see yourself.
that doesn't happen overnight.
No, it happens through small evidence.
What do you mean by that?
Every time you take action, you prove something to yourself.
Like what?
Like, I can speak up. I can try. I can improve.
And those small proofs build a new identity.
Exactly. Let me share one more story.
Go ahead.
This one is from a workshop I attended. There was a participant who avoided speaking during group discussions.
Was he shy?
Very. He would write notes but never speak.
What changed?
On the second day, the facilitator asked him directly for his opinion.
That must have been uncomfortable.
It was. He paused, hesitated, but then he spoke.
And
His answer was thoughtful and clear.
That's interesting.
After that, something shifted.
In his confidence.
Yes. He spoke again later. And then again.
That's how it starts.
Exactly. One moment of action can change your self-image.
That's powerful.
Let me ask you something. What do you think holds people back the most?
Overthinking.
That's a big one.
People think too much before acting.
And that creates hesitation.
Which leads to inaction.
And inaction keeps them in the same place.
It's a cycle.
Yes, and the only way to break it
Is action.
even imperfect action.
Especially imperfect action.
I want to say something clearly. You don't need a perfect plan to start.
You need a starting point.
Let's talk about time.
That's important.
Many people say they don't have time.
But often, it's about priorities.
Exactly. We make time for what we consider important.
That's a hard truth, but it's real.
Let me ask you something. What is one small change someone can make with their time?
Replace one unproductive habit.
That's a great answer.
Even 15 minutes a day can create progress.
And over weeks, that becomes significant.
Small time investments create long-term results.
I want our listeners to reflect for a moment. Where are you spending time that is not helping you grow?
That question can be very revealing.
And once you see it, you can change it.
Awareness leads to better decisions.
Let's bring everything together. We talked about awareness.
We talked about small actions.
We talked about identity.
And consistency.
All of these work together.
And they create transformation over time.
Not instantly.
But steadily.
I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. Your life is not stuck.
It's just waiting for direction.
And direction comes from decisions.
Small, intentional decisions.
If you are listening right now, this could be your turning point.
Not because something dramatic happened.
But because you are choosing to see things differently.
And that's where everything begins.
So don't wait for a perfect moment.
Create your moment.
Start small.
Stay consistent.
And trust the process.
Because real change takes time.
But it always starts with one decision.
And that decision can be today.